the sum of this whole thing and what I got out of it is the cool thing about the Tiffany stamp is that it represents an era of watchmaking that no longer exists, and I can probably confidently say will not happen again. And okay.
All right, welcome back to Normalize Talking About Watches with Nikki C and myself. If you see that we are laughing, is because we just filmed the first 15 minutes of this with our favorite product, Apple. Free plug. Please sponsor us.
Oh man, that
sleeping.
sucks.
It was asleep.
The computer went to sleep, okay, and it stopped recording, and we fudged the whole beginning of the episode.
We screwed the pooch. It was not great.
So we're gonna talk about the same exact things Joe and I just talked about, and we're gonna pretend like we didn't already do that.
That's right, because we didn't do that.
Right.
But you know what? The one thing that we didn't do the first time around is tell people to like and subscribe and share the show. So we get to do this again.
It was meant to be.
So it was meant to be, because most of you don't stay for more than 12 minutes. Stay for more than 12 minutes, please.
Yeah.
We do cool things at the end of the show, and it's really funny at the very end.
Yeah, once we get into our groove, all the good stuff happens, and you guys leave before that.
Yeah.
Well, we're in our groove now because we just did a 12-minute warm-up.
Exactly. So we should maybe warm up more.
Okay.
Which is nice. Like, subscribe, share the show.
It helps so much.
It's
All the people.
It's the only way we grow.
Yeah, exactly. We're not gonna sit here and bank on just like random people stumbling upon, or like all the conversations we have out in the wild and telling people about it. Share it with your friends.
Share it with your friends. Get them into watches. Then
Your
you guys
friends
have
like
something
this.
cool to hang out and talk about.
Exactly.
Because all you talk about right now is girls or guys and going to the bar.
Very.
Just kidding. That was stereotypical. I apologize.
Very true though. That's exactly. Your brains are going numb.
Yeah.
Learn about something new in your life, please.
Learn yourself. Learn yourself.
Pick a new hobby. I'm just gonna make sure the timer's up so we can see it.
Make sure the timer's up. I see the timer.
All right, so full disclosure, it is a late evening for the boys, and we're gonna just talk a little bit faster about the things we covered in those first 12 minutes. Try to maybe put it into 6 minutes.
Okay.
What watch you wearing?
6 minutes. We can do a lot in 6 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
30 seconds sometimes. What do you got, Joe? Tell me about what's on your...
my old school paddock on that is not an old school paddock.
You wish.
It is my Citizen. Actually, I like this better.
It's got more meaning. That's all.
It's got more meaning. It is the Citizen. It's got the white dial. It's the watch that I posted on the Instagram before, and I've worn it on the show before. I'm out of watches other than wearing the Tissot. And God, this feels weird.
It's like deja vu.
It is like deja vu.
It's not one of those deja vus where you're like, gosh, I know I did this before, because we know we did this before.
I did this 15 minutes ago.
Yep.
But it was the watch that my dad got from the Citizen rep when he was playing golf. And we're not really sure how many of them were ever made. It is, we found pictures of it online, but the case is completely different on all pictures that we found online. So if you know anything about this watch, which we will put a picture right there, please tell us.
Yeah, that would actually be cool.
I would love to hear anything that you could find on this watch and this specific dial and case size.
Yeah.
Because I can find the dial, but the case around it looks different in every single picture that I found. And
like the bracelet watch combo, just
right.
we haven't found one that we haven't seen one pop up on Google that's like, oh, there it is, that's the watch.
They're not gonna be able to see that, are they?
No. Okay. But the picture's up.
Okay.
We'll put it up.
Yeah, we put it
up. Sick watch.
Very cool.
Lots of meaning. Cool dial.
Yeah, I mean, it was my dad's. He basically gave it to me. He just said he wasn't wearing it, and I wear it all the time.
Yeah, you do wear that. You actually wear that all the time.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Which is sweet.
Yeah, and people comment it, and they like it.
And someone thought it was a vintage Patek one time.
Yeah.
A very well-established watchman, let's call him.
Multiple. There's actually two.
Yeah.
Matt and Noah.
And they're both
well established in the watch world.
Yeah, and they know their shit.
Yeah.
So that says a lot about that watch.
It does. Citizen. It really does. So we have another very special surprise for everyone that is watching, and it is on Nick's wrist, because Epi 11 is our second time now getting a watch that's not ours.
Which has become amazing, and I was just telling my girlfriend this. It's almost like...
Sorry, ladies.
It's scratching the itch of wanting a new watch all the time, because if you're out there and you're a watch person, most likely if you're watching this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get a new watch, you're in the honeymoon stage and you wear it every day and you love it and it's the best thing ever. And then all of a sudden you're like, I think I want another one.
That's so accurate.
Yeah. So
so
that
accurate.
happens and we love all of our watches.
That's right.
But there's when you go and you're, especially like us, we're around watches a ton, that you constantly are just like, oh, I like that. That would be cool to wear. I want that. I want that. So what this is doing for us, this collaboration with Dimitri, shout out to Dimitri, as always, local Rolex dealer here in Charleston. They are allowing us to, grab a couple watches so far, with 2 watches total, from their pre-owned collection to test drive, let's call it. Wear them, take photos. We're supplying them with some photos. This watch is for sale. Maybe it could have sold between now and then. I don't know.
Last time we said that, the watch was already sold. So
yeah, maybe this was
hesitating to say that it did come from the pre-owned area,
right?
At Dimitri.
Yes.
Whether or not this will still be in there if you walk in there on Saturday or Friday afternoon,
yeah,
I'm not sure.
Okay, true. Well, that'll be our disclaimer because we are obviously we get these watches. We record the episode. We post the episode. There's a little lapse of 7-8 days in there, so sometimes things could change. But they have generously loaned us this Datejust. 2-tone, 36 millimeter from 1989, but it is a Tiffany dial. Now, most of you probably don't know what that means because we didn't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
And we didn't
I know
cater.
that it's cool.
Yeah, we didn't cater our original learning curve of watches to getting deep in the deep depths of like vintage, which this is a vintage watch.
Yeah. I think I can articulate this better than I did 15 minutes ago.
Beautiful. Let's hear it.
That, to me, like I've always known that it is more original than just another Datejust.
Yes.
Right? That's like my perception of Tiffany dial.
Yes.
Tiffany dial, like if I see a Datejust, I think it's awesome. I think it's really cool. When I see one that's vintage, I always like them, etc. Whenever I see a vintage Datejust that has a Tiffany dial, I'm like, oh, that's special. And I would tap you and I would say, yo, dude, look at this Tiffany dial Datejust. This guy's got one on. Right. But I have no idea any facts about it. No idea why it was cool.
I feel the exact same way. I knew there was something important about it. I just didn't know what the true value was.
Yeah.
And what I did for you is I Googled it because Joe did all the research on the Thunderbird.
The Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Tune into episode 10 and learn about a Thunderbird.
Cool watch.
That was cool.
And it sold. So
and it sold.
Not because of us, but it did sell, which means
I like to think
cool
it was
watch.
Because of us, but I know it wasn't.
Yeah, I wish we could give ourselves the credit.
I know.
Okay, so let me learn y'all something.
Learn us something.
I did a little research. I have a cheat sheet. I'm just going to pull it up to make sure it's here, but I do remember most of the stuff. So, back in the day, Tiffany's old.
How old's Tiffany? Very old.
God, you're going to do shit like that.
I was just curious. I wasn't.
All right.
1907.
It's old, man.
I remember
1851.
Wow. 1851.
And that is not even when they started, but this is saying in 1851, Tiffany & Co. became the first store in the United States to sell Patek Philippe. So this starts my teaching of you.
Okay, teach us.
So if you're out there, you probably know that Patek and Tiffany do a lot of collaboration. Most notably, the Tiffany dial, blue Nautilus that broke the interwebs last year.
The World Wide Internet.
World Wide Webs.
World Wide Web.
So basically, the story starts there. And that is what started. So Tiffany started selling. They were the first. That was what this was basically saying. They were the first store in the U.S. to sell Patek Philippe. Obviously, Swiss watches. They weren't here yet. Tiffany started selling them out of their boutiques. Tiffany is a jewelry company, clearly. So watches were something different. I think they made watches, which is somewhere in here, but that doesn't really matter. They started selling those watches as a way to basically set apart, treat them as an authorized dealer like Rolex is now. And we were saying this, which would be sick, but I know this is probably never going to happen. But if Dimitri, as an authorized Rolex dealer, could have a little MP Dimitri logo where the Tiffany logo is on this, like that would be the coolest thing of all time. So that you bought it from that boutique, right?
I would love
or that dealer.
I would love that.
So that is what
Was
Tiffany.
it considered a boutique or was it considered an authorized
I think
dealer?
I didn't realize how specific the word boutique is in the
Right.
watch industry.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it was considered a boutique. I think it was just a Tiffany Co. store.
Okay.
So, and there are Rolex boutiques. If you guys are, ever in a big city.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, there will be a Rolex boutique, which is a green sign Rolex. You go in, that's all they have. Our local store, Dimitri, is an authorized dealer, so they sell a multitude of brands, Rolex being one of them.
Is the boutique specific to the green sign? I don't know.
Well, no, it's not specific to the green sign, but I'm saying
I've
like
seen
that's
the little green sign.
You'll normally tell. No, because
I
I've
thought
seen the
boutique was. We should research this, but I thought the boutiques were the highest level of dealer. That's who gets all the off catalog pieces of these just specific boutiques.
I think that there's boutique specific watches. I know that for a fact, but I don't know about with Rolex.
I think they're the highest level of dealer then.
But no, but it's a Rolex. I think those are Rolex employees.
All I know is Watches of Switzerland in New York that I went to, they have a green Rolex sign out, and they have all the brands. And
so green Rolex sign is probably not the distinguished. I know
like
I went to in San Francisco. There was a mall next to the hotel we stayed at, and there was a Rolex boutique. Only Rolex in the store.
Rolex in there.
Everybody in there it's about Rolex. The signs are Rolex, branding's Rolex. Picture Dimitri's little Rolex room.
Right.
That's the whole room.
Just the
whole place.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To your point, I'm not sure if that's a dealer, if that's a family business that just decided that they're Rolex people, but I'm taking a shot in the dark here, but just based on like the atmosphere in there and just business like logic on this, it screams that those are Rolex. That's a Rolex store. Those are Rolex employees. And that is like, that's one of their things, that's not a, Dimitri's a family owned business for years and years and years. They've sold a multitude of brands. They sell jewelry, all that stuff. They acquired Rolex as a partner and they're now an AD. So I think that'll be the difference. But basically what happened was, as a way for you to see that the Patek that you are buying was from this Tiffany store, they stamped the dial. So it'd be a Nautilus from Switzerland, Nautilus from New York City, Tiffany, same watch. Tiffany was stamping the dials in. Look how loose this watch is. It almost went upside down.
I think fits me. It fits perfect.
Do you want to wear it?
I love wearing it.
You want to put it on now though, so you can test drive it while I teach you about it?
Yeah, you keep teaching.
All right. Well, I'll put it on in the second half.
Okay.
So basically, there was a way to basically. It was like putting a SKU on. If you're buying something wholesale from someone and then you're selling it, you put your own little twist on it. That was their thing. They're banging this Tiffany stamp.
So they stamped the dial in-house or they stamped the dial at Patek and at Rolex?
I'm going to learn you something.
Learn me something.
They stamped them at the Tiffany store. That was how this started to go.
Wow.
Now, the issue arises. So that's the Patek version of it. That was first and foremost. They still have their relationship today. It's still very strong. Clearly, that watch sold for like $5 million or something.
I think it's like two. Well, maybe it sold for a bunch, but it's like you can't get it now.
Now it's in the twos.
Less than $2 million. It's like two and a half.
That's not important. Okay. That watch is just it broke the internet. It was Tiffany's brand colors.
This watch.
Yes.
This watch broke the internet.
And you only see it on
Jay-Z.
mega celebs. Mark Wahlberg.
Sure, Mark Wahlberg has
DiCaprio, all the big boys.
Leo's got one, huh?
Yeah. So in the 50s, let me fact check myself before I'm wrong.
1850s or the 1950s?
No, this is 1950s. A lot of time has passed. Okay. Rolex and Tiffany struck up a co-branding deal around the late 1950s. This deal allowed Tiffany & Co. to print its renowned name on the dials of the Rolex watches that were sold in its boutiques. So now they're using the term boutique. So Tiffany now has the relationship they had with Patek with Rolex. Rolex is giving them watches, or they're buying the watches. I'm imagining Tiffany has to buy them for X dollar from Rolex, just like Dimitri has to purchase them from Rolex. Tiffany gets the watch as a regular Datejust, two-tone. They take it, they stamp it in-house at the boutique by their people. This is where the craziness happens. That happened for X amount of years. There was a massive quality control issue because Rolex, Patek, those people, they take this The easiest way to spot fake watches, to my knowledge, from like the stuff I've watched on YouTube, is people will get out those little what the Monopoly Man? What is that called? Yeah, what is that called though?
It's a magnifying glass.
No, but it's got a
not.
name.
Right. Well, we'll put that name here.
Yeah,
We'll
they
find
take
the name.
those.
Boom.
And what they'll do is they'll say the easiest way to tell is if you can go in, Rolex makes no mistakes. They are perfect. Their font is perfect. What are you laughing at?
It's just funny the way you said that.
Why?
They make no mistakes. They're perfect.
Well,
they're perfect.
watchmaking.
They're 100% perfect.
Yes, they're watchmaking.
Yeah.
I will say. I don't know about their
the
brand.
50 millimeter titanium deep sea
Not perfect.
challenge. I don't know. It's perfect. No mistakes.
Yes.
Ever.
Rolex, if you're watching this, you're perfect. We love you.
You are perfect. Yeah.
Let me rephrase.
It just made me laugh. You're good.
They're very, very
They're
particular.
seemingly perfect.
They're seemingly perfect with their watchmaking to the point where if you take one of those magnifying glasses or whatever the name is, you can see on a fake watch, like the X will be slightly bold.
Well,
and
it's still a handmade production process, right? Manufacturing process.
I think.
Correct.
I don't think the dials are handmade
Right.
because there's no way. Well,
We'll see.
see, we don't really know our shit that well.
I know. We should learn.
But
We
what
will
I could I could teach you about the Tiffany and
There you
Rolex
go.
collab because I know about it.
All right. Keep going. Keep going.
Quality control issue, which was happening, was Rolex is sending this seemingly perfect watch to Tiffany. Then it's leaving the boutique after they stamp the dial, and there's imperfections in the Tiffany & Co. stamp, which I'll put up a close-up picture of how small the font is. You can imagine they have Tiffany & Co. 20, like 1 millimeters or something, like that really small ladies Datejust. So it's
tiny.
the tiniest little stamp on there.
Right.
There was such a quality control issue that Rolex was basically like, hey, we're taking this into our hands because they were getting faked. Fun fact, it's one of the easiest faked watches out there. So for you people out there that are potentially shopping for a Tiffany dial, it's extremely well faked because there were so many imperfections in the dial that when you go to compare A from Tiffany, real watch, to B from Rolex when they started making them, which is a Easter egg. Down the line, Rolex took this into their hands and they started doing the stamp at their factory. To see the fake one, all three are different because Rolex took it serious to the point where it was perfect.
Right.
Tiffany tried. It wasn't perfect. So some of theirs out of their factory or out of their stores were different. So then the counterfeit, not counterfeit? What would that market be called?
The fake?
Counterfeit?
Yeah, counterfeit.
Just like the fakes. Watches have
Counterfeit's
been
the right word.
Yeah, watches have been, there's a lot of fakes out there.
Absolutely.
They saw an opportunity. Hey, there's an imperfection, which typically there isn't. We can leverage this. So what they were doing is they were getting their hands on a regular Datejust from Rolex, very attainable as we discussed. Well, I don't know if we discussed it in this version of the episode.
Oh, we did not.
I'll touch on it really quick. This watch without the Tiffany dial is an extremely attainable vintage Datejust. Under $10,000.
I think it was in our starter watch episode that we mentioned it.
Yeah, potential. Yeah, I think it was.
It was.
Because they're like, Joe put a range out there, 2 to 10,000. I think that's pretty
2 to
accurate.
10
It's a
accurate,
huge gap, but like if you know that what that means is the 2,000 could be
no box, no papers,
stretched bracelet,
torn,
scratches, no service,
worn to crap, but not well taken care of, but still has cool stories behind it.
Still a Rolex.
10 might be brand new. 10's probably a high number.
Yeah,
I'd say 7.
Yeah,
or 8 on the higher end.
Yeah, probably
is going to be pretty flawless relative to a just standard 36 millimeter, and this is 36 millimeter Datejust from the 80s.
Yes. So
continue
on that topic. These watchmaker or these counterfeiters saw an opportunity because they're like, wow, we can get our hands on these Datejusts for pretty cheap. We can fake a Tiffany dial and basically flip the watch for significantly more money. The gap is significant, I would call it, between this watch with no Tiffany and this watch with Tiffany. So that means that they didn't have to wait on the market. They didn't have to make money on the buy. Like they didn't have to source a good buy to make their margin. They were able to just put this new dial in and churn and burn them and make tons of money. Clearly, Rolex caught on to this. Everyone caught on to this. Rolex stopped servicing This is where the big heavy hitter is. They stopped servicing in, let me get the year here because I think this is important. In the early 90s, which is not that long ago, and not long, honestly, after their relationship started, which was in the 50s, they said, we're not going to honor any of the warranties on Tiffany dial Rolexes from your boutiques. So
Wow.
now all these people that bought Rolexes from Tiffany that were supposed to be special, unique watches were now no longer to get them. They were not under warranty via Rolex anymore because of the lack of perfection that they were providing. Tiffany, that is. So Rolex was like, we're not honoring the warranties. We're not going to service those watches. Kick rocks. That split the relationship.
Wow.
They don't talk anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. How crazy.
As of the
50s is when the
50s
relationship
is
started.
when they start.
In the
80s
90s.
80s is when they start doing it at Rolex.
Mm-hmm.
So 50s is they start this relationship, and that's
Wait,
where
let
the
me check.
Tiffany stamps begin.
I don't know if I had.
80s is when
I don't know if I
goes to
have that.
Rolex.
There's no number in here about when they switched.
When they went to Rolex.
Yeah. Because they were early Tiffany Rolex styles were done by hand at the Tiffany store in New York, which is crazy.
Which I believe was in Trump's building.
Maybe.
It's in his book.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't say exactly when Rolex started to take over production and like do it at their own. It just says eventually much of the dial branding was taken over by Rolex, where the watchmakers stamped the dials with Tiffany logos in Geneva. So at some point between the 50s and the 90s,
they took it in-house, and then they basically said there's too many imperfections. We don't like the way this has happened, and we're not going to service the watches that came from Tiffany boutiques.
The ones
which
that
obviously
were
led
stamped
to
there.
a bunch of unhappy Tiffany customers, which probably pissed off Tiffany,
and
which
that's
then
what
got them to argue with
Yes.
Rolex, and now Tiffany and Rolex, they still have beef?
See, I don't know about they still have beef, but basically it's
Or
saying
they don't work together. They
Yeah,
don't
it's
work
just
together.
saying
They
as
don't
a
hate
result-
each other, but they still don't work together.
right. What it's
Wow.
saying is that as soon as Rolex told them, we're not going to service any of the watches that you guys stamp. We're only going to service the ones that we're stamping
Right.
in Geneva. It just says, as a result, Tiffany & Co. stopped selling Rolexes, period. So it was almost like, all right, if you guys aren't going to service our watches, we're not going to sell your watches. So they probably felt in the moment like, oh, take that. We're not going to sell your watches. And Rolex
Right.
probably was like, we
How'd that
don't
go, Tiffany?
care. Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't care.
Probably it probably made sense in the 90s.
Yeah, probably. And they probably felt, like I was saying, they probably felt good about it. So the last thing I'll say before we...
Now it's the largest mass-produced luxury watch brand in the world.
What is?
Rolex.
Oh, yeah.
That and Omega.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that, I think, on the last episode. The numbers far exceed the competitors of like AP
Yep.
and Vacheron and all those guys. They make
Yep.
a fraction of the amount of watches. The last thing I wanted to mention on my little Tiffany education session is they stamped quite a few watches.
You have a number?
No.
Oh.
Damn, now I feel
I
like
thought
I
you were
let
gonna
you
have a
down.
number.
I don't have a number. What I can tell you, though, is I'm going to list off. They stamped the Air King. These are all Rolexes that they stamped. I thought it was only like date
I
just.
thought it was just Datejust.
I honestly thought it was only date just.
I did too.
Air Kings.
Yep.
The Explorer. The Explorer 2. The Day-Date. There's a Day-Date, which that sounds insane to me that's probably the coolest watch of all time. They don't have a picture, which is annoying, but the Datejust, which we all know and love, which we have here in person, the Daytona. They stamped at one
Wow.
point. It says that they are. I was
Are there
trying
model
to find. I
numbers
think that
on these, like to where we can look
Yeah.
and see exactly which model was stamped?
Paul Newman.
No way.
If you track down something like an
I
early
think
Paul
I've
Newman,
seen that. You know what? I think I have seen that.
it says you've got something truly special. Like it's basically in there. They have it quoted because that's probably the most unique. I would say it's probably the most high dollar too. Paul
wonder if we
Newman
can
with a Tiffany
find one.
stamp. They have a picture on here, but it's not loading.
If we can find one, we'll put a picture up
Yeah.
and maybe
I think I'll be able to
a
find-
price tag next to it too.
Yeah. I bet these are all
Ka-ching.
auction items too. So I bet
Yeah.
we can find some wild prices.
Yeah.
But basically the list goes on. GMT Master 2, the OPs, Sea Dweller.
Did they do every single model?
See, now I would like to say yes based on how long this list is, but I'm not
Right.
sure. There might have been some watches that slipped through the cracks there. And then the sub, which I showed you, which I have this picture, and I will absolutely get you. Ooh, I got numbers.
I like numbers.
I got numbers.
Me gusta numbers.
One good number.
All right, big one.
Christie's in August 2020. Christie's is a big auction house that does really cool auctions with a lot of luxury goods, not just watches, but watches tend to be a big seller there. 43,000 for a Tiffany Submariner. And that says it's just well above the value of a vintage Submariner with a standard dial. So like, there you go. 43 grand for what is considered probably the most common Rolex of all time.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot of dough.
A
for a
steel
sub.
GMT with a black bezel. So you have that watch.
Well, but is it the older model with the red
Yeah, it sounds like
and the
it's an
smaller numbers?
older one, but
not
that sold in
ceramic.
2020 for 44,000, and you got yours
Wow.
for significantly less.
Wow. Yeah.
So basically, and this is, I'm gonna read this. I highlighted a part in here. Where is it at? Just to kind of sum up the whole thing. Okay. For vintage Rolex collectors, Tiffany dials represent a past era in the company's history. Rolex now prides itself on an entirely in-house production process and a tight level of quality control. So, I need some water before I pass out.
PTFO.
Basically, the long story short is, if you're a vintage collector or a watch collector in general, the sum of this whole thing and what I got out of it is, the cool thing about the Tiffany stamp is that it represents an era of watchmaking that no longer exists, and I can probably confidently say will not happen again for Rolex. That's what's cool.
That's what's cool about it then.
And they are
That's the coolest
truly, they're truly limited because that relationship doesn't exist anymore.
Which we mentioned on the last episode too. It's rare for Rolex to do something in limited production.
Yeah, very.
So anytime you can find something that is limited about
It's a good buy.
Rolex, it's you should know the story, which we now know the story.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It's cool. So, I mean, a couple of unanswered questions of what you had would be, I'm not sure if this dial was something that maybe only was on the Tiffany's. I don't think it is because it
Right.
looks...
It's just a Tiffany stamped dial.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
there's
not
anything...
not a specific dial color
No.
that was made, for
Now
the
Patek.
Tiffany stamps.
Just to touch on it, Patek, completely different.
Right.
They have a Tiffany dial that is blue.
Right.
Tiffany's brand colors. That is a Tiffany dial.
But I'm curious because I've never seen a newer one. I've seen the Tiffany dial day date.
You have?
Yeah. No. Color.
Oh.
The Tiffany dial day date. And I think it looks like it's an 80s-ish model.
You're saying that's
I've
blue.
seen. Yes.
But it's not Tiffany stamped, is it?
It's not Tiffany stamped.
But it's the color.
It's Tiffany blue. And they also came out with the OP41 that's very obviously in Tiffany blue.
I mean, the prices went up because it was so
Right. Because-
similar.
Yeah.
The prices of that watch they soared into the
And
40s.
I'm really curious if that's like a patented color. I mean, if that's
I wouldn't be
'cause that is
surprised.
the Tiffany blue, quote unquote.
Someone comment or tell us.
We can look into it too, just
Yeah.
offline. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
really my first thoughts is like, did they make specific? And I see that, but
Yeah.
did they make specific dials that were stamped with the Tiffany mark on it,
That's a great question. We can find that
or
out.
was it just
Here's our regular day
completely
just
random?
stamp it.
We're making 1 million watches this year, and we need you to stamp 20,000 of them.
Here you go.
Right, it just doesn't matter. We don't. However it comes up, stamp 20,000 of them.
Yeah, because they were eventually. You're right.
Right.
It was in the factory, so it was probably like
Right.
it was in the Rolex factory. They were probably like, hey, all of you making Submariners, stamp the first 20.
Yeah,
Each one of you. That'll add up to 10,000, and we'll send those to Tiffany.
Exactly,
and we'll be
yeah.
done. Let me take a break real
so
quick. Hey,
let's take a break. I want to put that watch on and throw it through there and bring it around. That thing's fun.
Whoa.
Cool.
Cool.
How do you feel?
I kind of like it, man.
Really? Because I can't stop smiling because I have this on.
We swapped watches,
We swapped watches.
and we're back.
We back. Hopefully you learned something right there because I learned something and I didn't know anything about why the Tiffany stamp was cool.
It's cool, man.
Although you could make that assumption, but I didn't know that they weren't still made.
No,
I actually did not know that.
they gone.
I knew it was always in like a vintage looking model, but if you told me that they were still making them, I would have believed you.
You know, I never really did a full deep dive to make sure that they didn't rekindle. But this article, you know why I say this?
Mm.
Because I ran into let me just look this up.
Do you believe everything you find on the internet?
Yeah, you have to.
Right.
The internet does everything right.
Right.
Wow. So
too hard not to. Dun, 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 dun. What song is that?
No. Okay. Cool. I was gonna say because I had a shoot where I saw the wife of the guy that I was chatting with had on what seemed to be like a newer Datejust with a Tiffany dial, and it looked new. But that I just googled it again. It said in the 1990s the relationship ended. So
yeah,
whatever. Long story short,
this looks newer to me.
Yeah, I mean it could have just tricked my eye.
It just looks nice.
Yeah, it could have just tricked my eye.
It's just a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's a great watch.
Yeah,
we have to give it back tomorrow.
That's okay.
Dang it.
That's all right.
But we had a nice little weekend with her.
Well, we could tell them that we found a buyer.
Yeah,
it's us.
I thought we were gonna buy it on the spot. Yep. Joe put it on. His eyes did the thing where they get big, and then I was like, "Oh, so we have to now buy this."
It's so good.
But that's what's great about the relationship. We'll get to test drive these new watches, and we'll get to make a more educated decision. Who knows? Maybe we will buy a watch like that one day. But now we at least know what it's like to wear it. We know about it.
That's right.
And instead of just impulse buying it on the spot, which we tend to do.
There's which is fun to do too.
Yeah, it's very fun.
And then you go, oof.
Yeah.
In the words of John Mayer, oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Fun thing, just on the topic of getting a watch, we kind of have our eyes on something right now. I'm curious, maybe everybody's thoughts. Two watches that we are trying to decipher between.
I hope my girlfriend's not watching.
Oh,
that's okay. She doesn't watch.
I am deciphering between.
She doesn't watch.
I'm currently looking at, and Nick is looking too, at the Grand Seiko. I think it's just called the 221, the Grand Seiko 221, which is just awesome. It's a GMT
pickup.
Nick just put a pickup. It's a lot of bang for the buck. It's a dress-looking watch, a dress watch. It is still a GMT function, but it's on the interior of the dial, so it makes it more dress watch. We learned at Dimitri a couple days ago that a true dress watch is just very simple.
Yeah.
There's just not much going on. There's nothing on the bezel. Thin
as a result of not a serious amount of effort put into the water resistance was what the guy was saying.
Correct.
Basically, that basically tells you this isn't a watch designed to dive in, so we can make it thin because we don't need to be water resistant to certain depths, which is cool.
That is cool. So that watch is on our radar. We saw it in person, tried it on. It looks really good. We don't have a leather banded watch, although we could use lug straps and make a leather banded watch, but we haven't done that.
There's something nice about it coming like that.
That's
too,
right.
though.
I used to have one in the Oris that I had.
Yeah, so did I.
I liked it. I also had a Citizen way back in the day that got stolen, an Eco Drive.
R.I.P.
And it was my dad's, and I used to wear it all the time, but it had a leather band on it, and that was just awesome to wear. It was really fun to wear. So
it's a different
feeling.
Be
nice. It would be nice to have a leather banded watch.
It's a wedding watch.
That's right. Yeah. That said, we also have our eyes on a sub. We can do an entire episode on this, and we will do an entire episode on this.
Yeah, let's scrape the surface.
It ideally might be the next watch we get our hands on if we are lucky.
If they will let us take that would be awesome.
If we're able to take that. But there is so there's again, this is a full episode, so I'm just gonna breeze through this.
Just breeze through it. We'll show a picture, and then we'll talk about it.
Tudor and Rolex are very closely intertwined relative to their inceptions, and I'm staying high level here on purpose, but they have there's old Tudor Submariners that use or used the original and the exact same parts as Rolex Submariners. And neither Nick or myself have a Submariner. And I think it would be cooler. To have a Tudor sub.
I know it's cooler
than it would be to have a Rolex sub. And it still
in
has
the vintage side of the
on
comparing
the
the two vintage
side,
I know it's cooler.
It's got the and I don't know what the hour hand is called.
Snowflake?
The snowflake hand?
I think that's what they call it. Yeah.
They've got, the Mercedes-Benz looking hour hand. on the Rolexes.
Yep.
And there's some subtle differences, and actually there's plenty of differences where you can tell it's different, but it's just really cool knowing, because if you didn't know, you might say, oh, that's a hodgepodge watch just with a bunch of random parts. But like, no, this is actually what is made. And you would be surprised how many brands used to, and maybe even still do, share parts from various different
Absolutely.
houses. And again, that's just a high level overview, but so
That could be the next episode.
Yeah, we'll dive into that on the next episode. We will dive into, one, the Tudor sub and the Tudor Rolex relationship, but then on the back end of that, let's dive into all of the sharing of parts and dials and hands and etc.
That's a fun topic
in the watch world, and we're gonna have to do some serious research because I don't know anything about that.
I know this much.
Yeah, I probably know less than that. So,
okay. Joe knows
yeah
this much.
But I'm curious. So there was an event that I did not get to go to. But
sorry.
That Nick went to, and I was invited. I swear I was invited.
He was invited.
I got invited. I got the invite.
We were invited together.
That he got to go to, and it was a dinner, and it was pretty much a watch club dinner. And it was a bunch of guys that were coming, together for dinner to talk about their watch collections, and people brought their watch collections.
It was awesome.
And I didn't get to go, and I want to hear about it, and I think it's cool to talk about, and I think other people would be interested to understand that there's communities like this out there.
Which we did not know about until this event, basically.
And maybe to hear about like the coolest 3 to 5 watches that you saw there.
Easy.
If you want to talk about that, because
100%.
I'd love to.
So it was awesome.
So what was the? let me just interview you.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. What was the initial vibe when you roll up? All right. So you roll up to the place that the dinner's at. Like, is it? And I mean, maybe a wrong perception here, but is it like nice cars everywhere?
All right, I'm gonna paint a picture.
Did everybody bring their nicest car?
I'm gonna paint a picture.
All right, I like when you paint.
I was the first one there.
Okay. Okay.
I was the first one there.
Were you the last to leave?
I was one of the last to leave.
Okay.
We'll
skip the car question.
No, but I know I have an answer to the car question.
Okay.
I was the first one there. Punctuality, very important to me. It was a freaking watch event. I was there on time. Hey, the pun was right there. It was easy to grab. Show up on time.
Just
I was there
grabbing
first.
apples from trees.
So, yes, everyone there brought pretty sick cars. Minor topic, but
we've talked about
watch
the carryover.
people like cars.
We've talked about the carryover.
I like cars. I like watches. Those guys. I learned. We're talking Ferraris. We're talking Lamborghinis, Aston Martin, like ballin', but not in a douchey way, which leads me into my segment of I'll paint the picture of how the ball got rolling once people started to roll in.
What's the initial vibe?
So I walk in. Obviously, I'm first, but there's a table across the back. It's a dinner, 20-some people, 30 people. There's a table across the back. On the left side of the room, there was like a beautifully set dinner table. So I already walked in. I'm like, this is going to be a sit-down dinner, but that table back there is for the watches. I could tell because there was already some watches out due to the people hosting, or like some of the people that were part of the event had their stuff already out.
Right.
So they were like, hey, put your watches out, which is what we brought the deluxe box for, which was cool. Put your watches out, and let us know if there's anything you don't want anyone to touch or try on. Maybe make a note of it, because otherwise the atmosphere here is that you can touch and feel, pick up, try on, at least take it out and check out any watch. And I was like, for our collection, touch and feel all of them. Nothing crazy. So set the watch down. 20 minutes goes by. People start rolling in. Everyone's setting down their watches. I want to say by far the smallest collection, which was great. I did not feel by any means inferior. I just felt like I'm right where I belong, which is like, I'm new to this. I was not the youngest. I was one of the youngest couple people there. everyone else had these beautiful, like, established collections, which were sick. I don't know if I can put photos up, but I can talk about the watches.
Yeah. No photos.
Yeah.
All right.
I
so
did take photos
just
of
to
watches.
clarify really quick. This is not because I can understand maybe the perception. This is not a blank measuring contest,
No,
right?
no.
This is not a look at how wealthy I am or how much money I have, right? This is a bunch of people that can appreciate watches.
Yes.
And they love watches and they love the stories behind watches and the manufacturing behind watches and the brands behind the watches and all of these stories that come together to make up why you like a watch or why you wanted a watch. And it is very rarely I wanted to buy a Daytona because I wanted to spend $30,000 and everybody know that I have $30,000 on my wrist. That is very not the case, right?
That was not the case for one individual in the room.
That is very much so not the case. And for some people, maybe it is, but that for the people in the community that we're blessed to be a part of, it is definitely not.
Exactly.
So let me just clarify that before we start talking about some of these watches because they are of high value, but it was not
Extremely
like, holy
high.
cow, look at this $100,000 watch that this guy has. This like, holy crap, I've never seen a blank.
FP Journe.
I've never seen an FP Journe.
There was
I've
a
never seen a
$200,000
Patek. I've never
FP
seen an AP, in person. I've never held one. This is incredible, and you get to appreciate the watchmaking and understand how cool and why these watches are worth what they're worth.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm feeling. I wish I was there.
When did you have your last coffee?
I wish I was there.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. I'll get right into that right now because it's something I absolutely want to say. I'll talk more about the event in a second, but my biggest takeaway was exactly that. It restored is not the right word. I want to say it restored my faith in the watch world.
Affirmed it.
It affirmed it. That's the word I was looking for. Joe and I both, we had this picture painted in our minds that there's a community out there that's not flashy, douchey, I'm buying a watch because I want to show off. That community exists. Don't get me wrong. It's out there.
I don't know if it's a community though. I think it's just a few,
okay. Great point. It's not a community.
a few eggs.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even gonna call them bad eggs. Whatever. They're just
got nothing to talk
that's
about.
what they are.
Oh,
I just don't have much to talk about it with them.
You're rich.
Yeah.
I'm rich.
Yeah.
Cool.
Joneses.
Doof.
The Joneses.
Stupid.
Yeah.
That is not what this room was, and that is not the world. That's not who we're targeting with this podcast. That's not why we got into this podcast to get into the world of the people that I was with that night.
Yep.
Which was awesome. The age range, 22 to 70.
Did you have any problems talking to these 70-year-olds?
Now, it was the easiest conversation to have with a 70-year-old other than my grandparents. So like that was what was cool, and that was where the affirmation of what we thought and hoped and dreamed that it would be came about, because it was just we had a common interest. Ice is broken. No, oh, you like watches? It was already there, and it was like some people stood by. This was cool. Some people stood by their collection, and what was even cooler is that most people didn't. Like most people were just like, I'm here bystanding looking at watches just like you are. I'm not going to stand by mine and guard it and tell you about it. If you're curious, ask. The room was small enough. It was an intimate scenario where I could
How
be
many
like,
people roughly?
I want to say there was probably like 30 people.
30 people?
If I had to guess.
Really cool.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm trying to map out my side of the dinner table and then just multiply it.
Right.
Probably 30 people. Yeah, 30, 35 people. So it was intimate enough where I could literally like look around and be like, I would pick up a watch and be like, do you know whose this is? And then someone would be like, oh, it's Johnny's. And I would go, Johnny. And Johnny would walk over and tell me a story about his watch, which was sick. That's how like small and tight knit.
I love telling the stories behind watches. Personally.
That's my next part. No one was like afraid to be like the enthusiasm that like jumped out of people when I was like, why do you have this watch was insane. Everyone was like, oh, for sure. There was a couple where people were like, I saw this come out. I liked it. I got it. That's fine. And then there was most situations where there was a Breitling there that was really cool, where a guy was like, that's my dad's watch. It's now my watch. That's why I have it. That's the only reason. And it's like, it was probably the least expensive watch in his collection, but arguably you could tell, not arguably, I can probably guarantee it. If I were to ask him, I'm sure he would fact check and say it. It was his most important watch he had. And that was sick.
That's so cool.
And then I would ask someone else about another watch there. There was 2 Tiffany stamp Pateks
Tiffany stamp Pateks.
2. Aquanaut, Nautilus.
Same collector?
Same collector.
Same collector. Wow.
Um,
Steel? Gold? What?
Steel.
Steel? Just straight
Steel
steel?
Nautilus.
Yeah.
59.80.
Look at you.
I don't know.
Okay, I mean, you got to be wrong.
Yeah.
There's
100%.
no way you're right.
And then an Aquanaut. I know what it's called.
There you go.
There was just this like, it was just a vibe of like, everyone's on the same page here. Let's all just chat about everything that we're doing. And what was funny, this is a note from the event, the Tissot, I brought the PRX, which was, you know, at first I was like, should I bring it? Everyone's going to have really nice watches. And then like my brain was like, hey, idiot, this is not about that. It's just about your collection. Bring your collection.
That's right.
I could have taken that spot out and put something else in there, put the PRX in there. Actually, I don't know that I could have. I think I was able, was great. I think I fit every watch I had in there, except for the Swatch.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't going to bring the Swatch, whatever. Sorry, Swatch. But
That's okay.
I put the PRX in there. Dude, the PRX was the talk of the town for a little bit, which was awesome. Like people, I was
incredible.
like, I didn't stand by my watches, but you know, they were on arm's length away. I would kept peeking over to see like when people were checking it out, what they were talking about. People were grabbing the PRX out left and right. Like, oh, so look at this. What is this? Because it is a truly like eye-catching watch.
Yeah.
And I bring that up to say, one, shout out to Tissot. You grabbed the attention of some people with, I think the most expensive
$100,000 watch collection.
$100,000.
Couple $100,000 watch.
There was a $700,000 collection, roughly.
Incredible.
Was what we all estimated.
It's so incredible.
And the PRX was grabbing the attention. And I bring it up to say, yes, so you did a good job. But 2, like, that was the event in a nutshell. It wasn't about the most expensive watch. There was way more. There was an FP Jour in there, 2, that were well into the 6 figures for one watch. Yes, those were getting attention, but people just wanted to learn and see about everyone's collection. People were talking about the bands. Like, we have our Speedy on a white rubber.
Yeah.
People were picking it up like, oh, what is this? I might get this for my Speedy. There was 100 Speedies.
As soon as you see that, by the way, like you immediately want it on white rubber.
Yeah.
Every single person does.
There was not exaggerating. I won't exaggerate. There was probably 10 Speedies in the room, which was another affirmation of us saying,
did you see
it's a watch.
Did you see any Snoopies?
I saw a Snoopy.
Did you put on a Snoopy?
I didn't put, I don't know if I put it on, but I held it, touched it, took it off its pillow. Me and the Snoopy were boys for a couple minutes. Sick
Dude,
watch.
That's
very
awesome.
cool watch. And I don't know that I'll ever see another one, honestly. Not anytime soon. That's a watch that's just like so random.
It's very rare
want one,
that I think a dealer would tell you, like, you know, they'll you know, you walk into a dealer and you want to buy a watch and they're like, oh yeah, it'll be 5 years, whatever.
Yeah.
It's very rare that they just say there's zero chance you ever see one.
You ain't getting one.
I asked about the Snoopy, and I got there's zero chance you'll ever see one.
Yeah. Have fun.
Okay. That's fine.
Stick to Googling it, bro.
That's fair.
So ask me some more questions.
Yeah. So you walk in, you're there, you're one of the first people there, you're seeing the vibe develop.
Yeah.
You've got watches on the backside. Everybody's kind of hanging out, mingling, talking about their collections.
Yep.
You saw 2 Tiffany stamped Pateks. You saw a
Unbelievable.
Snoopy.
AP.
What's the
Royal
craziest
Oak.
Rolex you saw?
Craziest Rolex. Of all the Rolexes there.
It's a little subjective. But.
A couple. I'll talk about a couple that came with 2 both wearing Daytonas. But not just any Daytonas. Meteorite on Oyster.
Okay.
Sick watch.
Wow.
And then a Mother of Pearl all gold.
Wow.
That was cool.
Wow.
That was a baller move.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
So that's
His and her.
sneaky. Yeah. That's the sneaky.
I would say that was the coolest.
Sneaky awesome.
Yeah. Your Grail was there.
Really? Did you see?
It was not your Grail though, because
But it wasn't. It was the full eye style.
full ice style,
Yeah.
I believe.
Did you see any off catalog pieces?
I did. I saw
I'm so mad.
the Yachtmaster on Oysterflex with the colored sapphire bezel, which is just like
It's the same color as my shirt.
all the colors on your shirt are on the bezel.
Which obviously I love. So you can understand what's going through my brain right now of not being able to see. Did you put that on?
I did not put that on. The guy that brought that was wearing it.
You didn't ask him?
I didn't ask him to take it off.
Kind of awkward.
No, and that's a watch that is truly irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And
it's
one of
literally irreplaceable.
Yeah, it's one of whatever.
I don't know how many they make.
2, 5.
Yeah.
I don't know how many they make, but not many. That was probably the coolest Rolex, but that's not a watch that I can't say that. I was gonna say it's not a watch I would wear. I would wear I like personally, if I'm gonna go with that Yachtmaster, I like the cotton candy.
Yeah,
sapphire,
the blue and pink.
I would wear that one all day.
I did. Yeah, I would too. All right. So, what was your favorite watch that you did see? And
Favorite
was there a
watch?
story behind it that you could tell?
Favorite watch I saw was probably there's
Doesn't-
two,
Okay.
and this has nothing to do with the price. Obviously, the Aquanaut
Okay.
was really freaking cool. The fact that that's such a high-end luxury watch on a rubber strap is really cool to me. I love rubber straps. You know this. We have rubber straps. I wear my Seamaster all the time.
What is the strap? Is it a buckle? Is it a buckle strap?
Yeah,
Is it really?
It's like a little
But it's
butterfly. I
from-
think it's a little butterfly.
Oh, it's a butterfly. It's not a buckle.
Actually, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is it a buckle like our Speedy? Or
No,
is
it's a I think
it's
it's
a
like a
clasp.
quick release,
It's a quick release
butterfly
clasp.
clasp for Patek. Yeah,
Awesome.
with the little Patek logo
Very
on
awesome.
on it.
Yep.
And it's got like this cool like checkered dial or checkered pattern on the strap. That seeing a Royal Oak, a beautiful Royal Oak in person.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, I've never seen one up close in person. I've seen one on someone's wrist, but never.
We
like,
should do research on this, but I did see a quick reel today
Mm-hmm.
saying that Royal Oak is the most influential in the sports watches.
Really. We could do some research.
We should do some research on
That watch is beautiful.
Yeah.
That
was
is
it
a watch.
offshore, or was it just a
It was just a Royal Oak. Beautiful.
Was it thick?
No,
No.
but it wasn't one of those like stupid thin. They have the stupid thin.
Right.
Then they got
right.
like thin, and then they got this like the brick, which is like that thick watch.
the offshore, I think, is the super thick one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was just like I want to say middle of the tier. I don't know that. I haven't really decided to look too much into that world because I can't afford it. So I'm just like, but that
Still
watch.
fun to learn about. That's the main reason I don't know anything about it either, because I've never even considered them.
Yeah, that watch quickly jumped to my like. If these are an attainable price at one point, I will be hunting for one because it's such a good looking watch. And then the one that was really sick was I saw the gold Speedmaster with the red bezel that I believe came out like last year.
Mm-hmm.
That was sick.
That is neat.
It's just like it's not underrated by any means, but there's just not many out there in circulation, so you don't see it very often. So it's cool to see that.
Yeah. What was the story? I mean, did you get a story on the FP Journe?
No.
No. I mean, I'm assuming maybe just got it from the dealer. Or
I think there was two FB Journes there.
There's two of them.
Yeah, there was two. One being absolutely absurd. I really wish we could put up pictures, but I don't think I can.
That's okay. Describe it.
Gold
FP Journe.
Maybe I can find the type of watch it was.
Was it the one? Yeah, go ahead.
It's got like 3 subdials, and it may be like a minute repeater. I'm not sure. It had that. You know, what minute repeaters have that like.
Yeah.
It had one of those, and I don't know if that means it's a minute repeater or not. That could have been something completely
Just
different.
a design aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I would imagine FP Journe they wouldn't just put something there for design. I'm sure it serves some kind of function. The guy let me hold it and touch it, which was crazy. And he was this was awesome. He was handing it across. This was during dinner that I saw this watch for the first time because he had got there a little bit late. He sits down at dinner. He pops he was wearing a Vacheron. What was he wearing? I forget what he was wearing.
Cool.
I believe he had a Vacheron. Maybe I forget. He's just handing it around the table like this.
I've
Not tossing it, but like,
I've never held or worn anything from the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. Well, you tried on the Vacheron that Matt had, the blue one.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Matt's.
But yeah, this watch was. I didn't want to act like a total noob, but I also wasn't afraid to be like, I have no idea what the hell this is. So I asked the guy next to me. I'm like, dude, I have no idea what the hell this is. And he was like, I don't really know what that is either, but I do know that it's special and that it's the most expensive watch probably here or up there, at least the top 5.
The highest value watch. Yeah.
And it was a great line, but the guy was just like, just appreciate that you're holding it and hanging out with it right now, and we'll figure out what it is later. And that's what I did. I just embraced it for a second. It was gold in the weirdest way. Like it was like it had like this sandpaper texture.
Wow.
like almost like a frosted AP,
Yeah.
but gold.
And then
That was crazy.
at that point, Nick handed it back to him in 2 hands, very slowly.
And then I handed it to him, and he handed it to somebody else, and I was like, dude,
And then he threw it to Johnny across the room.
Yeah, like it was
He caught
that
it.
lax. As we're getting low on time, I'll kind of just wrap up. Is like, it was just, it made me want to do it weekly.
And we'll get there, and I think we're gonna try to set something up like that up because I have so much FOMO, it's insane.
And then the first thing I told Joe was like, well, a couple things. Obviously, it would have been amazing if you were there to see all these watches because it was just, it would have been hard. It is hard to explain.
You just don't get to see watches like that.
No, and you don't get to
And
touch them if
you
you
don't get
do.
to
You see them
talk
across the
about 'em.
room.
You don't get to talk about them. You don't get to hold them, feel them, see. I mean, it's just such a cool experience to be able to do that and be in that room. And that's kind of a whole other side of why we started this thing. And I think we'll get there.
It got us in that room.
Yeah, but it's gonna just grow from there. I think we'll have the ability to do that on the show, ideally, and learn about some
I want to
really cool
host
stuff.
That was kind of what I told Joe after. I think we talked. I don't know if we talked that night, but it was like I'll put this
next
together.
day,
I will put one of these together. We'll do it ourselves and get these guys back out.
Really quick, what was for dinner?
Filet, beautiful filet.
So good.
Oh, I'll go through the whole menu. Salad, a beautiful salad.
Ranch
Wedge,
or blue cheese?
ranch. It was a wedge salad.
Wedge salad, love that.
Beautiful salad. Filet. A special filet. With I believe there was green beans and
Eat your greens.
oh, they had like this butter that was
Strong like
fire.
Popeye. Spinach.
Yeah. No spinach. They had this butter though that was like stupid.
Garlic herb butter.
Something like one of those, butters that are like they have stuff like that going on.
You got the butter or truffle butter.
Something like that. It was one of the two. And then like a nice little warm roll. And then first of all, the menu was by choice. They went around at the beginning once we sat down for dinner and they asked everybody what they wanted. There was 2 options for each thing. The dessert was like a what's that like really airy ice cream called?
Sorbet.
No.
Fried ice cream.
No.
Yeah, you got me.
It's so obvious. Like
Okay.
people will be like, you dumbs.
Okay.
It's like the pancreas conversation.
Space ice cream. Didn't they take
No.
Okay.
All right, we got a minute left.
We have like 45 seconds. 30 seconds.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up with we're gonna host one of those, and if you're local and you're a subscriber, let us know. That would be such a cool thing to have some of the people that watch the show out. Some of those 100%. I got a lot of new. I don't know if they actually full blown subscribed. I did subscribe on one guy's phone for him, so he subscribed.
We should get a dot card that
just auto subscribes.
It brings it up and subscribes.
Yeah. But yeah, we got some people. People were thrilled about the podcast. I was telling everybody about it, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. If you're still here, thanks for listening. Share the show. We love you. And next episode, we're going to talk about, which should be really interesting. We're going to talk about the relationship between Rolex and Tudor, and then brands using some of the same parts, in manufacturing processes.
Like, review, subscribe, comment, share, follow us on Instagram.
Tell everyone.
Tell your parents about it.
Yeah.
They might like it. I learned that the age gap does not exist.
My dad still doesn't know how to get onto YouTube and find the show, which I think he's BSing. He's
Maybe
just being lazy.
We'll burn it on DVDs for Joey.
He might not know how to work a DVD anymore.
Well,
but
Joey, you're not watching.
Yeah, we'll put it on Sirius XM one day.
There we go.
We're going to be out of time.
See ya.